Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Cordina versus Vazquez fight. If you're on around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Cordina is 16-0 with 9 KOs and Vazquez is a 15-1 with 3 KOs. This fight is for the IBF World Super Featherweight title. Cordina's last fight was a win via split decision versus Rakimov, and Vazquez's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Di Garcia. Vazquez's loss came via split decision versus Ford in 2022. And just to speak a bit more about what I've just said there. So of course, this being for the IBF World title, this is now Cordina's, from what I believe, second defence, or technically first defence, because he won it versus Agawa and then he got injured, and then I think he got stripped, and then he won it back versus Rakimov, and then now he's defending it. So technically this is his first defence. And last time out, a great fight, a very gutsy performance from Cordina and from Rakimov as well, to be fair to him, and in a fight which was going to inevitably be a difficult fight for Cordina, he managed to come through and get a tough, well fought victory. And Vazquez's last performance, a comfortable victory against Di Garcia. It's just a step up for him now, and I would say this is going to really be testing him in this fight. And it's nice to see him get this step up though, because the fight versus Ford, I mean, first of all, I believe it was in the featherweight division anyway, so it was in a division which he isn't quite as comfortable in, and it was a very close fight. People saying it was a quite controversial defeat for Vazquez, and it wasn't. It was very close, and Ford maybe landed the more kind of eye-catching shots, but Vazquez did very well and did exactly what he had to do, and definitely on a different night with different judges, he could have won that fight. So it's nice to see him getting another big opportunity here. Also on this card is Nonchinger versus Curiel for the IBF World Light Flyweight title, in which I think Nonchinger will win via TKO in round 10. Nonchinger, I'm a fan of him. I like what he's about. I like his ability, and I think with his power, this fight he'll be able to get through this relatively comfortably, and be able to get a comfortable stoppage victory into the later rounds. I think it will still go into the later rounds, but he'll still be able to win relatively comfortably. And at that point, I would like to possibly see him try moving on to going in towards undisputed territory and fighting other world champions for their belts, because I think at this point he could definitely do that. Go back to the Cordina Vazquez fight. Cordina, as a fighter, he's got high amounts of skill. That's inevitable, and well, not inevitable, it's been shown that he has high amounts of skill. He's explosive, got quick reflexes, good counters, he's efficient, got good footwork, he's got that kind of internal will and desire. He will dig deep if necessary. He's got great timing, got momentum with him following victories. He's got good shot placement, he's got good hand speed, he fights off the front and the back foot. He's got great athleticism, he's got power coming through, he's got high work rate, he takes necessary risks, and he's got great combinations. I mean, he's such a well-rounded fighter. It's such nice to see every time he fights, because he's got that skill, and he's got things which a lot of fighters might only have kind of one main attribute about him that makes them so good. But you can see the truly highly skilled athletes where they've got multiple things about them which makes them very skilled, and Cordina has that. The fact that he can fight off the front of the back foot, the fact that he's got that speed and now that power coming through, mixed with the timing as well, and the defensive movement as well on top of that, it's just very impressive. And the fact that he can outbox you, but then he can also like if it needs to go to a war, he will take it to a war, takes that necessary risk, and still manages to win in that case anyway. And it's very impressive. He's a great fighter, and it's going to take a lot for anybody to be able to beat him. But Vazquez, there's definitely still things that Vazquez can do to possibly upset the apple cart, and I don't even know if that's a saying, but kind of go against the odds and win. The negatives about Cordina, I mean, for this fight, of course, he's got all the pressure on him. He's more than likely used to that now, but of course that's still the case. He can get dragged into a war. Like I said, it's a necessary risk that sometimes needs to be taken, but it means that fights can possibly be closer than necessarily they have to be, and it means that he can get hit more than sometimes he wants to be. And so, he's been hurt in fights as well. In the Rakimov fight, he got hit at times, and he did seem to get hurt a little bit at times, but he also gives out the damage as well now. So, it's just interesting to see what it's like if he does get dragged into a war. And with this fight, I don't know if that's necessarily the thing that he should be doing. Of course, he's coming off a hand injury. To an extent, he's coming off of it. I mean, it was before the Rakimov fight, so he's proven that he can still fight with it and he still has power with it. But there's always going to be that thing there if it's like it's a big injury, and it's to the most vital point of your body if you're boxing. So it's still always going to be an attribute there, which is gonna, I'm sure, affect him in some aspect. He gets hit when he stands and trades. Similar thing to what I'm saying about him being dragged into a war. Like I mentioned, he can be hurt, and he most definitely could be overlooking Vazquez here. Like, it would not surprise me if that's the case. I mean, after the fight versus Rakimov, Cordina and Foster were going back and forth quite a lot, and there was never really much of a talk of Vazquez coming in as an opponent, but they seem to want to get Cordina out and fight him, which is completely respectable. But it means it was against somebody who maybe is a more unknown opponent for Cordina, and somebody who he may be possibly overlooking. Vazquez, as a fighter, he's going to be hungry to prove. He's shown that in his interviews leading up to it. He's very confident, he's very eager, and that's something which you always want to be seeing in a contender, which, like I said, maybe is coming in a bit unknown, to have that kind of fighting talk about them and that confidence about them coming into it. He's got the less pressure, of course. He's a crafty fighter. He's got good feints, good level changes. He's patient. He'll set up his shots well. He's a switch hitter. He can cut off the ring well, fight off the front of the back foot as well. He's composed. He can nullify opponent's power, and he can take opponent's power. He's got solid movement, and he doesn't really respect any of the opponents that he goes in against. And he showed that against Ford, the fact that he could nullify the power. He took some big shots and still kept coming forwards, and for certain other opponents that could have definitely knocked him down, but for him, he managed to keep going forwards and just keep fighting still, and it's very impressive to see. And the fact that he is going to be that kind of slower down pace fighter is different to what Rakimov is. And for Cordina, he's going to have to come in my opinion, with a different kind of game plan. I don't think he's going to be able to, or should realistically be coming into this fight trying to go into a war and just trying to stand and trade against Vazquez, because Vazquez is good at slowing it down and picking the shots when necessary, and like I said, is quite a crafty feinter as well. And if he's going to bait you in, then he's going to be able to capitalise on that, and he might be able to do that. And the fact he's also a switch hitter as well is going to make it difficult for Cordina, because I mean, switch hitters are difficult for everybody, so it's something which he might not be too used to, Cordina. Negatives about him: he's got a lack of power. There's definitely been shown that in fights he hasn't really got that kind of amazing power, and the timing maybe is off a bit at times. He struggles to hit with combinations. He doesn't throw many combinations, but he also struggles against combinations as well. He can nullify against kind of one-shot power shots, but he can struggle a bit against the fast, quick combinations which opponents throw, and that's what Cordina will throw. He can make fights close to needed, similar to what Cordina, to be honest, but there's been a few fights where he's gone to split decision. He is willing to stand and trade as well, but that's definitely not what he's going to be. I don't think he should be doing in this fight. I definitely don't think he's a war type fighter. I think he could definitely go on the back foot and just work his way around it, and just has to work off the jab. But it's all down to, of course, what game plans both fighters come into it. I do think this could be go two different ways. It could end up being a stand and trade fight, or it could be like a more technical displaying. Which, to be fair, I think the more technical one is the one that would favour both fighters, and I would like to see more. Cordina is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Cordina will win via a unanimous decision. Do I think he'll be able to get the stoppage? No. Do I think Vazquez possibly could have success at times? Yes. I feel like he could take some big shots, Vazquez, and I think he could possibly frustrate Cordina a little bit into the later rounds, but I think at the end of the day, Cordina, I think, is going to be able to outbox him. It's just them combinations. He's going to be able to outwork him with them combinations, and then, yeah, I think Cordina will be able to get the unanimous decision victory. Where would he go on to next? Possible opponents. Lee Wood, he's coming up in weight. That could be a huge kind of British fight, so you never know, that could happen. Foster, I mean, of course he's been talking a bit about Cordina, so that could be another fight for one of the other belts in the division. Or Rakhimov versus Nunes, seems like they're going to be having a kind of interim final eliminator type fight for this IBF world title. So if Cordina is willing to possibly give a rematch to Rakhimov or fight Nunes, if Nunes wins, then that could be another fight as well. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.